What to do, everybody? Azancho back in the building, and welcome back to another episode of SDG Sundays. Before I get into the message, I do want to shout out real quick. I officially have a Patreon. I've had one friend ask me about my Patreon, so I decided to shout it out. Go ahead and enter the Hunchoverse. It's $3 a month. Yeah, geez, like super expensive, right? $3 a month. Go ahead and check it out. Join it. For a lot of cool opportunities to come out soon, and to just support an up and coming channel, and a podcast. Yes, you heard that right. Each episode of SDG Sundays is going to be released onto Spotify, and I'm working on how to figure out how to get it on Apple Podcasts as well. But check me out on Spotify. Check out my Patreon. Support the boy. Thanks so much for listening to these. My name is Azzy Huncho. Let's get to the video. You would be a fool to believe that everything would turn out exactly the way that you want it to. Now, I'm most definitely not an expert on God's voice, but one morning when I was making smoothies in my kitchen, I had a sudden tug at my heart and really felt like God was saying that to me. And now I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking, dang, Azzy, your smoothies are that good that God himself would speak to you in those moments? I'm like, hey, what can I say, bro? If you want a smoothie from me, just hit me up. But on the real, I don't remember what I was talking about, but I just do remember that voice kind of planting itself in my head. Not even like as a voice that I was hearing audibly, but something that just like showed up in my head, kind of tattooed on my brain, and it was so uncontrollable. And it's one of those things that you can't really explain. You can really just experience. And those who have heard from God might know what I'm talking about. And not trying to shame anyone who hasn't or hasn't felt like they have. I truly believe God is always speaking, and we just got to be better listeners. And I believe you may have heard from God and just hadn't recognized him. And so anyway, one morning I'd heard that voice, and just the way that it resonated with me, and I believed it was so true off the rip, is really another thing. And if you agree or if you don't agree, I kind of want to break that down for you. Of course, the first thing that I thought of when I heard those words, if you're an anime fan like me, you probably heard those too. Madara or Madara or whatever, please don't crucify me in the comments for how I pronounce his name. Madara Uchiha's famous words, probably the most famous quote in Naruto Shippuden. Nothing goes as planned in this accursed world. And likewise, honestly, it's almost the same thing. You really would be foolish to think that everything would go the way that you wanted it to. Even the most successful, the richest people, they had obstacles, they had trials, they had tribulations that came in the way of them pursuing their goal, right? Not that everybody should be rich. I personally don't want to be super rich. I think that corrupts people. But yeah, I truly believe that nothing goes exactly the way you want to, even if things do go successfully. And I also believe that if everything did go the way that you wanted them to, you're in trouble. You're in danger. We're humans, right? The Bible says that your heart is deceiving above all else, right? We don't want the things that we want. Sometimes we do, but in the reality, sometimes what we want isn't what we need. And I think when things aren't going your way, not that you should be suffering and living a Peter Parker, type lifestyle where all your luck is horrible and you can never get a break. But I do believe that sometimes the things that we think we want in the most, might actually be a curse, right? Sometimes I remember hearing this quote, sometimes a blessing in the wrong time could be a curse, right? And so I don't want you to just think that, life has to be bad for you to be, within God's plan. But I just hope to encourage you to let go of expectation, right? And so this thing that we call expectation, where things must go a certain way for everything to be okay in our lives. And I'm not saying that if things don't go the way that you want them to, that you have to be happy and just shrug it off and keep it pushing because you're a good, happy Christian, or maybe even you're not Christian, but no, I don't think that you have to. But I do want to encourage you to trust in God's plan. Whatever happens to you, good, bad, ugly. Ugly happens to me a lot when I look in the mirror. Haha, sorry, that was a stupid joke. I might cut that out. Whatever happens to you, good, bad, or horrible, to take it as it is, and to keep moving forward. Doesn't mean you have to be happy. Doesn't mean you have to ignore it. Doesn't mean you have to be toxically positive. But to keep it pushing, right? To take everything as it is and to trust that everything works for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. That's Romans 8, verse 28. And everything that happens to you has a reason. It's like character development, right? If you've watched any anime or read any stories or anything like that, you know what character development is. So trust everything that happens to you, and believe that God has a greater plan for you. So thanks so much for watching. My name is Azzy Huncho, and this video is solely for the glory. Peace.